Hello friends, and welcome back to Zach Writes Code. This is part 3 of our dynamic router written in PHP. And we're going to go ahead and use the class that we wrote in the last video. Basically what we're going to do is we're going to create a file-based router. The router will literally load files that are already in the path of the web server directory. But to get started, let's go ahead and create a file called router.php right in our root directory, because this is the file that we will write in our Nginx config to point to route any requests that come in. All right, so we got a router.php. Let's go ahead. We're just going to echo I am router. I am router man. And obviously, as you would expect, we could go to router.php and we're going to see I am router man. But let's go ahead and update our Nginx configuration files. So nano/etc Nginx. That'll be sites enabled default. And we're going to basically update 2 lines. We're going to update the index to also include router.php. So if the request goes to a folder that does not have any of these files, such as index.php, HTML, HTM, it will load router.php if that's available for an index. Let's be clear on that. But we're also going to change this. So right now, the location / will try either to serve a file or then a directory. And before I deleted it, it would serve a 404 if both of those things failed. In this case, if both those things fail, I actually want to route to our router.php. So we'll just go ahead and point literally to /router.php. And we're going to throw in query string. This is a variable that Nginx will pass in. If for whatever reason, if we don't pass this in right here, when you're doing things like $_get in PHP, it breaks it. It doesn't work without this. So throw that in there, whatever you decide to name it, and you will still have what you expect when you're in your files, your PHP files. So Control-X, save, yes, enter. We'll do Nginx-T to make sure we didn't totally ruin this file. And that last line there says we are successful, so we will do system control restart Nginx. And because this shell is connected through Nginx, it will fail just like that. WebSocket server disconnected, refresh, and we're back. Okay, so now a couple of things. If I go to / right, because I have an index.html file, the first file that it grabs is that index.html file, because that's also in the order that we specified in our index in our config file for Nginx. We put router.php last. And because that exists first, it grabs that first. Let's see what else we've got here. Of course, we have run tests. So we should still be able to do run tests, which so far just has our router class tests in it. Then that works. So what happens normally when you would type in something gibberish, you get a 404. But now you get a I am router. That's because Nginx is routing any requests that it does not recognize outside of those that are existing in the directory or existing as a directory. It routes it to router.php instead of serving a 404 page. So pretty cool. We can use this to our advantage when it comes to creating a router. So now we literally in our router.php just say, okay, what was the request that was made? Oh, it was ASDFLAKSDJF. All right, well, let's look and see if we have a route for them, boys. And they might not. So then the router can handle the 404. All right, so how are we going to implement this? Now, I said before that we're going to do a file-based router. Be a little more clear after we get to the end here. So let's first start with a folder, new item folder. We'll call it routes. And you can name this whatever you want. I'm going to call it routes. And inside routes, I'm going to put an index.php file. And we're just going to go in really quickly, edit this to say that I'm the index file in that routes folder, so we know when we get there, if in fact we actually get there. Echo I am /routes /index.php, right? Control save. And now coming back out, so we have our routes folder, we have our index file in that routes folder. And I'm going to do something else here. I'm going to actually rename this index.html file to .back, just to back it up. So now when we go to our page or whatever URL, just the root URL, you see we're getting the router because the index.html file no longer exists in the root directory that we're requesting. So it routes it to the router. So now that that's happening, how do we take our router.php and do something useful with our router class that we made in the last video? Well, as you saw in the last video, we need to feed two parameters into our getRoute function, and that is the URI for the request and a list of routes. So because we're going to go file-based, let's get a list of the files in routes in the routes folder that we just created. So I'm going to start with a little variable that we can change as we want. I'm just going to call it dir equals routes that will point to the name of the folder we just created called routes. And we're going to do a couple things. We're going to find all paths that have an index.php underneath the routes folder, including subdirectories, okay? And then we're going to, well, let's just start there. Let's just start there. So $routes, and I'm actually just going to do a shell exec to get this information. And you'll see a little more clearly why I want to do it this way as opposed to using scandir. And that is because it prints out a little bit more of the format style that we're looking for when it comes to the argument we're going to pass into our getRoute function, okay? So find $dir dot, so we're appending, concatenating, whatever the hell you want to call it, slash dash name index.php. Let's just go ahead and var dump that out to our screen so we can see what's happening there. Var dump $routes, or refresh. So we see we get routes / index php, which in fact actually exists in our routes folder because we created it about 2 minutes ago. See that this is really not what we want to feed into the function that we created in our last video, because it is also including routes and it has index.php, but for all intents and purposes, this is our root route, our front / route, the primary route, whatever you want to call it. So let's go ahead and do some string manipulation. How about that? You guys want to perform some string manipulation? So we're going to remove the directory, the $dir and the index.php from, not form, from the root route, the /route. And very simple, we'll go routes equals stir replace $dir dot slash index.php. So we're just going to grab that whole string, comma, and turn it into just that front slash. Save, refresh, and we got a null, we got an error. What happened? What did we do wrong? Oh yeah, I gotta pass in my routes parameter. There we go. So now we have our root slash and our routes. Let's include our class. Let's require it. Require classes slash router.php. Okay. We'll go ahead and create an instance of that class. New router. Okay. Okay, so let's do something that is a little bit more exciting, and let's create a dynamic route. So we have our tiny file manager, but our tiny file manager really doesn't like doing dynamic routes, so we are going to have to hack in the shell on this one. So I apologize for that, but hang out, you know, continue watching these videos because we will address that little issue in a future video where either we can do it with the file manager or maybe something even cooler than that. Stay tuned, stick around. But for now, let's go and create a dynamic route. We're in our routes folder in our little web shell. So let's do make dir -p, meaning create parent folders if they don't exist. Orders slash :id. We will cd orders slash :id. Oh, why didn't that work? Oh, because I did not finish spelling orders. So we'll do nano.index.php because our, like I said, tiny file manager really does not like editing files with that little colon in there. I know it can, it just needs a little help, but I'm not going to do that in this video. So set this up, just echo that we are who we say we are. I am orders slash ID. Save. Let's refresh this and see what we get. And you can see these are on two different lines. So we have the first route, and we have our route that we already parsed, that regular root route with the slash. And you can see that obviously we need to do some extra work here to parse out routes here and rip off that last little slash index.php. So let's do that. We're going to start with remove slash index.php from all routes. Learn to type. And then we're going to do remove $dir from all routes. Let's do it. So $routes equals stir replace $dir. I don't know why I'm wrapping that in quotes. Don't need to. $dir blank, and we'll pass in our routes. And come down here. We're going to remove. Oh, you guys see what I'm doing there? I'm mixing it up. I'm just making sure you guys are paying attention. I know that that is a very not nice thing to do, but it's a test, and I think you guys passed. Let's just go ahead and copy. Oh, what was that all about? Copy this. Now we'll remove $dir from all routes. Control save. Come back over here. Whoa, mouse clicky wrong. All right, there we go. So that looks more like the kind of route that we're looking for. So far it looks like we've got our list of routes. Our function that we created in our class expects an array, not a large string. So you can see that's what we've got right now is a string. It's not large yet, but it will be once we get a bunch of routes in there, and they're each on their own line. So, easy enough. What we need to do is split that using the explode command. So split route string into an array of routes. Easy enough. Routes equals explode. We're going to do /n and pass in our routes. Now this should work just fine. Control save, come back, pass it in, and we're still var dumping the routes. And what we want to do is echo route. How about that? Echo route slash. So what happens if we do slash orders slash we'll do 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's still getting slash. What is happening here? Oh, because I'm hard-coded. Now, next thing we got to do is actually get the request. See, I'm hard-coding it right here, which is why it's failing. But I know that we're going to pass in a variable called $URI, which we're going to set up here at the very top of our file. And how this is going to look is we're going to get $URI equals $underscore server, open and close brackets, request underscore URI. And that should work for now. Let's come back, try this again, refresh, and bam, we have our orders ID. So we're getting the route. We're at least getting the match that we're looking for. So it knows that this is the route we want based on our request of orders /1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so now that we have our function that in our class for the router, getting and matching our request with a route that exists in the list, let's actually go ahead and have it pass on that route. Let's do it. Let's load the route. Now, we know we're trying to access this dynamic route /orders /1, 2, 3, 4. And we know that our function is returning /orders /:ID. So that's the route. And we've set up our folder, and /orders /:ID. We've created our index.php file that says I am orders, whatever. But we know we can't simply just include $route, because what that does is it literally says look in the root directory of the server for a folder called orders that has a subdirectory called ID, sorry. So we know we can't do that. So we need to use our magic constant that points to the path that we're in, $dir. And because this route exists in a subfolder of our application called routes, we need to do that. And because we've got to load a file, not a folder, we've got to load that index.php file, /index.php, control save. Let's see what happens. Bam, we're in our file. You guys are wondering at this point, like, okay, what's the point? You've pointed it to a dynamic route, but don't you want access to the dynamic variable? Well, yeah, we do. And you can do that in a handful of ways. The way I'm going to show you is we're going to do, well, I want to see something really quick. Let's echo URI. Yeah, /orders 1, 2, 3, 4. So we have our URI right there. We're going to split it because we know that our argument in this file is literally the second argument. It'll be fairly easy to do this. Explode $URI on no, front slash, yep. Okay. Yeah. And then we should be able to access, I believe it's the second member. And I broke it. Totally broke it. So PHP doesn't let you do stuff like that. So you got to do this. Oh, well, it might let me do it if I type in the correct command name, huh? Let's try it. Yeah, there it is. There's our variable. So we can, instead of echoing it, we can assign it to order ID. I don't like that. Let's do order ID equals explode. I am orders.id. We'll throw in a /n here, and we'll echo order ID. It's that simple. It's literally that simple. So whatever variable you send in, you have access to. Of course, this isn't /n because this is a web browser. You can view page source and see that it's /n. New line. All right, guys. So that's largely it. We've got ourselves a router that we can use any way we want. Check us out in the next video. I must be schizophrenic now. Yeah, check us out. Me, myself, and I on the next video. Peace.